Hey folks, welcome to the Transplant Helper today. My name is Jim Merle, and I just want to pause for just a moment and give you a little bit of information about a recent video series I've been involved in creating for you, and it all has to do with our sleep habits and getting a better night's rest. Now, more than likely, if you're a daily viewer of my program, you watch it every time a video comes out, you may have already seen, as of last night, time of this video at least, that I released the first video in that series entitled Sleep Aids, okay? And I answer in that video the questions whether or not you and I as transplant patients should be or could be involved in taking on board some kind of a prescription sleep aid as far as helping us to get a good night's rest. And toward the end of that, I actually give a few tips that you can use to make those sleep aids more effective if that's something that your team or your doctors have chosen to allow you to take. And again, always consult with your physicians before you take any medications, supplements, make any real major changes in your life, including diet, exercise, or whatever. But anyway, the first video was all about sleep aids. If you hadn't already seen that, I'll link it up here in the corners and in the description below. You can check it out after this particular video. Now, the second video in that series, which is actually going to be released just a few hours after this one right here, also has to do with sleep, but yet it has to do with my 5 best tips for not only getting to sleep, but for staying asleep and getting a better night's rest. And you know as well as I do, you can search all over YouTube, all over the internet. You can find tons of videos and articles concerning how to get a better night's rest. But I promise you that my list, at least number 5 of those 5, is more than likely going to be something you have not heard a whole lot of places. Okay, so go ahead and check that video out when it comes out. I promise you it will help you if you'll implement those things in your life. Now, the third video, which will not be released now for another day or so, is all about the sleep aid Ambien and my horror story that goes along with it. Now, I admit in that video, as well I may have already mentioned in one of the others, yes, I am a user of Ambien. And yes, to be honest with you, I'm somewhat addicted to that drug, okay? I'm not an abuser of it, but I am addicted to it. And so I'm going to be telling you a few of the stories that are absolutely true. I wish they weren't, but they have to do with me and my use of Ambien, some of the horrors that have come about in my life just because of that one little bitty tiny pill that I take right before bed. So that's kind of going to be an informative video, maybe for you an entertaining video. You might get a laugh out of it, but check it out when it comes out. I'll make sure it's linked at the end of this video when it is released in the end cards, maybe put it up here in the corners and the description as well. So that's so far the 3 videos I put together. But I want to stop for just a moment today because as I was picking up my Ambien prescription just yesterday at the local pharmacy, I got this paperwork right here, which you oftentimes get paperwork with your prescriptions. And I got this paperwork there that gave me a little rundown as far as the side effects to that one drug Ambien. I take actually another brand of it. I just went blank, but anyway, I take the generic form of it nonetheless. But here are a few side effects that are listed here. Some of these are strange and some of these are downright terrible, okay? Number 1 on the list, trouble sleeping. Number 2, nausea. Number 3, flushing. Number 4, lightheadedness. Number 5, uncontrolled crying. Hadn't experienced that. Number 6, vomiting. Number 7, stomach cramps. Number 8, panic attacks. Maybe. Number 9, I think it is, nervousness. Oh yeah, I can definitely attest to that. Number 10 here, stomach pain. So that's just the top 10 side effects listed as far as, you know, things that go along with Ambien, the drug. But that wasn't nearly as interesting to me as this next list, and I'll just read the paragraph that goes before it. This can be probably somewhat comical, but I tell you, I've experienced some of this, not all. But anyway, here's what it says. After taking Zolpidem, yeah, that's it, Ambien generic form that I take, Zolpidem. After taking Zolpidem tablets, you may get up out of bed not being fully awake and do activity that you do not know you're doing. The next morning, you may not remember that you did anything during that night. Again, my Ambien horror, that's pretty much the story, but watch it. You'll really get some insight of what I deal with. It goes on to say, you have a higher chance of doing these activities if you drink alcohol, which I don't. I'm not a drinker, never have been, or take other medications that make you sleep. With dopamine, dopamine tablets, reported activities include. Now, let me just say before I go into this little list, if you are taking a drug like Zolpidem to sleep, don't try to combine that on your own with something else. If a doctor gives you an additional prescription and tells you to take it, That's up to him, okay? But don't just go out there and say, well, I'm going to take my Ambien, and because it doesn't work all the time, I'm going to start taking melatonin, the over-the-counter med, and you're just going to start throwing stuff in. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. But anyway, even without those things, here's what it lists as, I guess you would say, serious side effects. It says right up here, serious side effects with this medication. Number one, driving a car or sleep driving. Well, I'll admit there was a night where I took my medication, then I ended up having to take one of my children to the emergency room. Yeah, I did it. I don't remember anything about how I got there. Terrible thing to do. Bad idea. Never do that again. Number two, making and eating food. I do that all the time. I get up out of bed and I go cook. I ate the most awful mess you've ever seen. I mentioned that in the Ambien horror video. You can check that out. Number six, talking on the phone. I don't necessarily talk on the phone, but I have sent plenty of rogue texts, made Facebook posts, and I think one time or two I even went Facebook Live, which is a terrible idea when you're on Ambien, but I've done it. So that's a part of it. Next, sleepwalking. Yeah, pretty much once you take the medication, you go out. I can get up and down several different times at night. At least my family reports that I do. I have no memory of it. And then the next one here, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5, number 5. I don't know. I hadn't counted these. Then the last one here on the list, having sex. I'm going to leave that one with you. I don't know what to say about that. Stay stronger, friends.